revealed how the British Navy's tactics against Napoleon could solve North Korea crisis. Tactics used by the British Navy against France in the Napoleonic Wars could be used to force Kim Jong-un to stop his nuclear weapons program, a former U.S. military officer has claimed. Gregory Keeley, a retired lieutenant commander with the U.S. Navy, suggested that a multinational blockade could force the North Korean dictator to surrender his nuclear ambitions. His comments come as the United Nations and Donald Trump's administration struggle to find a solution to contain the threat of North Korea as Kim Jong-un continued to test missiles and expand his nuclear weapons program. According to Mr. Keeley, a crisis in the Korean peninsula could be averted if the U.S. and other nations drew inspiration from one of the most effective blockades in history. Citing the Royal Navy blockade during the Napoleonic Wars, the retired lieutenant commander said, "If Kim actually fears for his life, believes his hold on power and his lifestyle are in peril, he could be forced to pivot away from nuclear weaponization." A naval blockade in the Sea of Japan and the Yellow Sea would prevent the DPRK from obtaining essential raw materials and equipment, including refined petroleum and military spares. A naval blockade also serves to choke export income from the lucrative coal and iron exports the regime needs to keep the lights on. One of the most effective blockades in history was the British Royal Navy blockade of the First French Empire during the Napoleonic War. Britain was able to keep its shipping lanes open, and effectively cut off crucial supplies to Napoleon's armies, ultimately winning the war. He added the naval forces of Japan and Australia could be relied on to support the initiative, while South Korea, Singapore, India, Taiwan and NATO could help to isolate Pyongyang. On Monday, President Trump relisted North Korea as a state sponsor of terrorism and announced further sanctions would be placed on the Kim Jong-un regime on Tuesday. However, Mr. Keeley argues that a blockade would be more effective. He continued, "Like sanctions, blockades are designed to slowly choke the recalcitrant nation into submission. Unlike sanctions, a blockade provides the capability to monitor, intercept and enforce restrictions on what can go in and out of the target nation while providing a powerful psychological and diplomatic instrument." Kim is likely not a student of Rule Britannia and will not willingly abandon his nuclear weapons program. Kim deems his nuclear capability as essential to maintain the requisite fear and funds to stay alive and remain in power. Trump and Kim Jong-un have been engaged in a war of words since the Republican took office earlier this year, with both leaders threatening to totally destroy the other nation if provoked. Last month, Kim Jong-un's mouthpiece threatened the USA's total destruction and warned the Korean peninsula is on the threshold of a nuclear disaster. The Korean Central News Agency, KCNA, said, "The U.S. reckless military gambling against DPRK may lead to its total destruction. The DPRK is ready to counter the war of aggression with a war of justice and cope with the enemy's dagger with a sword and his rifle with an artillery piece." The threat followed Trump's chilling speech to the UN General Assembly in September, where the U.S. president warned North Korea's depraved regime will be totally destroyed if America is pushed too far.